Emotions can help us access the mind world if we let them. And I want to talk about one particular interesting emotion, FOMO, the fear of missing out. This is a particularly strange emotion because it often just does not make much sense. Here we are, at home, perfectly happy, and then we get a sense that somewhere out there in the world are a bunch of other people having fun. And we're not there. And maybe we should be. Now, usually this is just a perfectly natural motivation to get out there and go have some fun. Maybe when we feel this emotion, the best thing we can do is just go out and sing some karaoke with all our friends. That's probably what this emotion is usually signaling us to do. However, there is an alternative way to experience this, which sometimes might just be a better option. For example, sometimes it's just already really late at night, and we have this sense that there's something happening out there that we should be out going to do, but honestly, it's just a flash of an emotion that just doesn't make that much sense. It's just not convenient at that time. For example, sometimes I feel I just need to be in a different country. I'm a big traveler, and sometimes the country that I'm in just suddenly starts to seem like the wrong place to be. But that's a bit inconvenient, I think you can see, because I can't just instantly get up and be in a different country the next hour. Maybe if I plan for it, but at this particular moment, this feeling that I need to be somewhere else, even if I'm the most empowered person in the world, I need a different way to be able to engage with this emotion. So what's the alternative? Well, assuming that there's two worlds, the real world, or just world, and then there's mind. Our world has everything that we're familiar with. Our house, our cat, everything. Now, if there's people out there having fun, maybe we just need to expand our world to include them. But we could also recognize maybe this isn't necessarily part of the world. Maybe this is part of the mind. There is a barrier here we sometimes don't recognize. It should occur to us sometimes that sometimes our emotions might not be other parts of the world. They might be coming from the mind. So how do we engage with this in a mind way? Well, think of it this way. The mind is a world, its own place. With all sorts of things happening. And we can get there suddenly, quickly, through various ways, like maybe psychedelics. Maybe meditation can slowly bring our minds over into this other space. However, an emotion can bring us there instantly. These emotions, here's FOMO. There's people out there that I need to see. If we can recognize that the feeling that we're having, this sense of other people in a place, is actually other spirit in a mind place, then that feeling is a link between these worlds. You could think of it like a portal, an instant connection that we can use to get to the mind world, even without such things as psychedelics or meditation. It's sort of a shortcut. An emotion, if it's strong enough, can link us to the mind world instantly. The only downside is that we can't really trigger this on command. Emotions like FOMO, they just sort of appear. They just emerge without warning. And that's actually where their power comes from. Because such a powerful portal as these emotions, well, maybe they shouldn't be controlled. Maybe the most powerful portals in the world are completely outside of our personal control or the control of humans ever. And when they happen, we have to be able to recognize what they are and to use them. So what I'm slowly trying to get to here is how to actually work with this emotion in order to make this transition from world to mind. How does this actually work? So, the mind world is a place. It is a place in every sense of that word. It has space. It has things that you could say are living, although they may just be reflections of our own spirit. And that doesn't make much sense. It sounds like a metaphor until we encounter a strong emotion. So consider the fear of missing out. If you really dive into this feeling, what is it like? There's people, there's place, and it has a sense of being somewhere else. You may not even know where it is, and that's what makes this emotion so strange, because if we knew exactly what we wanted to do and who we wanted to go there with, I think that would be pretty easy. We could just invite our friends, go out and do something, go sing karaoke. But more often than not, this feeling is incredibly vague. We don't know who we want to go with or who we want to see. We don't know where we want to go. We just have this sense that there's a space out there that we need to be in. And that sense of distance is important here. That sense of distance is the feeling of encountering the mind world. That sense of distance is the space of the mind world. And it really couldn't be any other way. If you have a sense of something happening somewhere else, that's not an objective or real observation of the world. That is something that is happening within your mind. It's just as real as a perception of space, but it's something that is happening within your own mind, which doesn't mean it isn't real, which is what I'm struggling to get to here. It's that you're encountering a rich experience that the mind is generating or connecting to. And the way to enter this mind space is just first to recognize this is space. There's space, and there's this. It's not empty space because there's things happening there. I don't know what they are, or who or what is there, but I know that something is happening. And if you can recognize that, then well, congratulations, you're already in the mind space. There's nothing particularly special about this. There's nothing incredibly mystical. Well, there is. But what I'm trying to stress is that if you can recognize the feelings of FOMO for what they are, you're already in mind space in the most intense way that you might ever actually need to be in order to have an incredibly rich spiritual experience. And other emotions do this too. I'm just focusing on FOMO now because it's a fantastic example. It's probably the best example I can think of because it's just so strange. Other emotions like anger or fear, I think usually they have some sort of real world trigger that we can blame on. But the more abstract the feeling, the more it comes from our mind world and not the physical world, if that makes sense. So I also want to use things like depression as an example of how to of things that come from the mind world. That's a bit harder. That's very abstract, and that's very loaded. I like FOMO because it's sort of in between some of the intense experiences. It's a bit easier to work with. So next time might dive into the more intense experiences of depression, which are more like not just a place, but almost a universe that you have to explore. Anyway, enough for now.